I'd always believed relationships don't shatter all at once. They erode slowly, quietly, long before anything visible breaks. And now, looking back, I can clearly see all the little warning signs I chose not to see. The jokes I dismissed, the uneasy glances I pretended meant nothing, the tiny shifts in tone I told myself weren't worth worrying about. But none of that prepared me for the night everything finally came apart. My name is Arden. I'm 36. And until a few months ago, I thought my marriage to Leah was steady. Not flawless, of course, no marriage is, but balanced in a comfortable, familiar way. We'd been together 8 years, married for 5, and most people assumed we were solid. Maybe that was part of the problem. Sometimes solid slowly becomes stagnant, and stagnant can quietly turn into something colder. It really began at her sister's annual summer party. Sarin, Leah's younger sister, threw it every July. She's the kind of person who fills a space without trying. Bright, impulsive, magnetic. People naturally drift toward her, the way moths rush toward a porch light. I'd always enjoyed her energy in a harmless, friendly way. Even if she made Leah sigh and roll her eyes constantly. The party was in full swing when we arrived. People spread across her large backyard, music humming, string lights glowing, the smell of grilled food drifting through the warm evening. Leah wandered off to say hello to her friends, leaving me near the drink table. I picked up a soda and tried to settle in, but something in the atmosphere felt wrong. Maybe it was the way Leah brushed past me earlier without her usual squeeze of my hand. Maybe it was just me overthinking. About an hour later, the crowd thinned enough for a drinking game. Someone suggested truth or shock, truth or take a shot of something harsh. Leah didn't drink much, but she loved surprising people with bold answers, so she jumped right in. I joined because she wanted me to, and because refusing felt like distancing myself from my own marriage. The early questions were harmless, embarrassing moments, worst fashion choices, first crushes. Everyone was relaxed, laughing, tipsy. Then someone turned to Leah and asked, "What's something about your relationship that would surprise people here?" It was meant to be a light question. People had been answering with silly, domestic things. I expected something along those lines. Instead, Leah lifted her drink, smirked, and said clearly, "I opened up our marriage." The group burst into wild laughter. Big, exaggerated, we're all drunk laughter. Everyone assumed she was being cheeky, making a daring joke for attention. Everyone except me, because she said it in the exact same voice she used when she told me we needed more space. The same voice she used when she suggested we spend separate weekends to reconnect with ourselves. That tone she used for every so-called joke that wasn't really one. My stomach dropped. "Wow, Leah," someone yelled. "I didn't know you two were like that." "Good for you both. Modern love," another chimed in. I sat frozen, staring at her. She didn't look my way. Didn't smile at me. Didn't even pretend it was a joke we were sharing. She just took a sip, shrugged, and let the moment pass. Whatever was on my face must have been noticeable, because Sarin, leaning against the fence with a drink, watched me with a flicker of concern. Then something playful lit up in her eyes. Before I could even process Leah's comment, the bottle spun to choose the next player and pointed at me. The question was some teasing prompt. Something like, "If you had to kiss someone here, who would you pick?" People laughed. It was the usual progression of the game. But I couldn't answer. My brain was still stuck on Leah's words. "I think he's in shock," someone joked. "Come on, man, loosen up," another laughed. "Yeah," Leah said lightly, still not looking at me. "He takes everything too seriously." The words hit harder than they should have, like she'd pressed on a bruise. Before I could respond, Sarin stepped forward. She crossed the space between us and, without warning, leaned in and kissed me. Not sloppily, not drunkenly, deliberately. She pulled back just enough for only me, and maybe a few stunned onlookers, to hear. "Perfect," she murmured with a wicked grin. "Now you're my boyfriend." The yard erupted with cheers and stunned laughter. But all I could feel was the heavy silence coming from my wife. For the first time that night, for the first time in a long time, Leah finally looked at me. Her expression wasn't jealous, wasn't shocked. Wasn't even angry. It was irritation. Tight, sharp annoyance. Like I'd somehow ruined her joke. Like I'd interrupted her script. Like I'd become an inconvenience. That look hit me harder than Saren's kiss. Around us, people kept laughing and reacting. But all I felt was the moment something in my marriage quietly, definitively snapped. Some cheering, some whispering. Yet all of it felt far away, muted, like my ears were submerged. I stood frozen, surprise and confusion thick in my throat. Saren tapped her glass against mine with a smug, playful grin before drifting back toward the house, leaving the air vibrating in her wake. Everything had happened so fast, I wasn't even sure people had processed what they'd witnessed. A prank, a dare, a moment, or something else entirely. I tried again to read Ila's expression, but she looked away before I could make sense of it. For the next hour, the party smeared together into noise and motion. Voices, laughter, music, but none of it felt real. I just kept replaying the moment. The kiss, the whispered words, and the way Ila's forced humor had soured into irritation. Eventually, I slipped inside to escape the chaos. The house was warm, lights dim, music thudding faintly through the walls. I welcomed the quiet. I needed space to think, breathe, sort myself out. But as soon as I stepped into the hallway toward the kitchen, a hand closed around my wrist. I turned. Saren. She lounged against the wall, eyebrow arched, a half-smirk curling her lips. You look like you walked out of a storm. Saren, I said, rubbing my neck slowly. What was that outside? A kiss, she replied simply, tucking her hair back. You looked like you needed one. That's not funny. Neither was what Leia said. Her amusement faded, replaced by something unexpectedly sincere. No teasing, no sharp edges, just gentleness. She never should have said that to you. She said it was a joke. She didn't sound like she was joking, Saren said softly. Her voice held a calm I wasn't ready for. You okay? She asked. I don't know. We stood there in the hush of the hallway, the party's noise fading behind us. You two haven't been okay for a long time, have you? She asked. I let out a slow breath. No, not really. Saren folded her arms, thoughtful. You deserve someone who actually wants to be married to you, not someone who treats commitment like a punchline. I don't think she meant. She meant it. Saren's voice was sharper now. Leia says things so she doesn't have to deal with them later. I didn't want to admit it, but part of me already knew she was right. Before I could answer, Ila's voice rang down the hallway. Arden. She appeared at the far end, her expression tight, eyes darting between me and her sister. Can we talk alone? Saren scoffed under her breath but stepped aside. I followed Ila into the guest room and closed the door. The party vanished behind the walls. She didn't sit, didn't cry, didn't apologize. She just crossed her arms and glared at me as if everything was somehow my fault. What was that outside? She demanded. I blinked. What do you mean? You're the one who said you opened our marriage. It was a joke, Arden. It didn't feel like one. You take everything so literally, she snapped. Why can't you just relax? I might have laughed if it hadn't stung. If it actually felt like we were joking together, I could. But lately it feels like you say things so you don't have to say what you really want. She looked aside. You're overthinking, she said coldly. And you're avoiding, I replied quietly. Silence swelled until she exhaled sharply. And what about Saren kissing you? Did you even try to stop her? I didn't even know she was going to. That's irrelevant, she hissed. Everyone saw. Something inside me gave way. Everyone also heard what you said, I told her. Maybe that's why she did it. Maybe she was trying to keep me from looking like a fool. Her eyes narrowed. You're defending her. I'm defending myself. Then it happened. Her face softened, but not with affection. It was calculated, like she was weighing the best strategy. We can fix this, she said quickly. Just don't make tonight into a big deal. I stared at her. No, I said quietly. We can't fix what you refuse to admit is broken. She opened her mouth to argue, but I walked past her and opened the door. I'm going home. Stay if you want. Her expression twisted. So you're choosing her? I'm choosing myself. I didn't wait for her reply. Out in the hallway, Saren stood where she'd been before, leaning casually, watching me with quiet understanding. Leaving? She asked softly. Yeah. She nodded. Good. And as I stepped out into the cool night, it hit me. It wasn't the kiss that changed anything. It was the moment I finally saw the truth of what my marriage had become.